Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about interval notation. So interval notation is just the third way that we talk about domain and range. I find that it's the easier method. A lot of people do as well. This is the method I will use most often, and I think it's just because it makes more sense. So if you are struggling with the inequality notation, this one will hopefully be better for you. Okay? So interval means that we're describing the interval the graph lies on. Okay, so when we're doing interval notation, remember back to the other video I said that we have a closed dot, it means it's a bracket. If it's an open circle, it's a parentheses. Well, we use those two things when we're talking about domain and range. So say we had a parabola and it sat at 0, 0, went up 1, and 2, 4, 2, 4. And it went like this. Well, earlier I said that the domain of this would be all real numbers. Well, we can also talk about it in terms of infinity. So the domain of that, because this is going to expand out to infinity, this is going to expand out to infinity, we would say that parentheses, it goes from negative infinity to infinity. We use parentheses because infinity is something you can never touch. Alright, the range of that function, before we said it was y is greater than or equal to 0, well now we can say that it goes from 0, meaning 0 is included, to infinity, which is not included. So this is interval notation. We're stating the interval the graph lies on. I find it easier because you don't have to worry about inequality signs. All you have to know is the difference between a parentheses and a bracket. So let's do an example where you have to choose those two things. So this is an example from your worksheet. We did it in class with inequality, but we're going to do it now with interval. So the interval for the domain, we have, it starts at -7. So this is -7. Okay, and that's a closed circle. So we're going to bracket -7. Then remember this graph stops here, right? So it stops at -1, and it's a parentheses. Now we have to talk about the fact that there's another domain to it. So we're going to put a union sign. So U is union, and it means and. So we're saying our graph lies on the interval from -7 to -1, and this is a closed circle, so we're going to use a bracket 1 to +7, and it's a parentheses. So I got those numbers from here and here. Okay, I got the symbols from the dot and the open circle. So the range, we could also do the same thing. So the bottommost range, because remember range goes from bottom to top, the bottommost range is here at -1, 2, 3, 4. So -4, because it lies on the graph, it's a bracket, and it goes up and stops at -2. So we're going to put comma -2. Again, remember that a closed circle trumps an open circle, so we're going to put a closed bracket. Then because we have another piece of the graph, we do the union sign, and since I'm out of space, I'm going to write it down here. It starts at 1, which this dot trumps this circle, so it's going to go from 1 to 1, 2, 3, which is the highest point up there, which is also included. So the domain of this function is on the interval -7 to -1 and 1 to 7. The range is from -4 to -2 and 1 to 3. So interval notation is shorter, it's more concise, and it does use the infinity symbol. So like I said, instead of saying all real numbers, now we say from -infinity to +infinity. Alright, so that's the gist of interval notation. If you're still confused, watch this again. I wanted to try to keep it short. It's pretty simple stuff. We're going to work on this tomorrow in class. Okay, so have a good night. Hope you enjoyed that. Make sure you submit your WSQ.